Ah, great. A second last name that's too long for the graphic. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Kazu Negri, the West Virginia native, is having a nice little tournament here, as is Anthony. You see the record set 2-1 as opposed to 11-2.
Yep, after this round, there's only 2 more. Locked in if you are X3-1. Unfortunately, that draw means if he takes 2 more losses in the next 3 rounds, I think he's going to be eliminated.
I think you are correct, as Kazu did start things off with a walking ballista. That's a hub of the Ether variety. There's your Jacob Ball energy token, former invitational champion 2 years ago in Atlanta. And now here's a Rishkar Prima Renegade. See if this is going to resolve, and it will. So, +1 was going to here. I think we'll have a, ooh. Okay. I thought that's what Kazu did, is put a counter on there on Rishkar as well. I just want to make sure, as there's a seal away to take care of the walking ballista. Ballista, I believe, going to go upstairs at Anthony a couple of times. That's why he's down to 18.
Personally, I just like to always give the players in the feature match area the benefit of the doubt, because they're having to grab tokens from the judges and grab specific dice from the judges. So even though he was a little slow on that, I think that's fine.
Skrzypczak here looking at a copy of History of Benalia. And he will play the Mythic.
So the cat's out of the bag here, I think, from Anthony's side of things. You know, there's a chance that Kazu thought he was going to be playing his traditional blue-white control. This History of Benalia changes that completely. It'll change how he approaches the match in general.
Rishkar going to come across here for 3 points of damage. The follow-up here from Kazu is he's going to use an energy. This will be Shalai, Voice of Plenty.
And with Settle the Wreckage being the main sweeper from Anthony's side of the board, this could get a little sticky, since Shalai giving you hexproof protects you from that card.
Chapter 2 on History of Benalia will resolve. There is another Knight token with Vigilance. We'll see a Plains here from Skrzypczak.
This will be one of the few decks in Standard that play Shalai that can actually activate her ability.
That's actually true. I think maybe I've seen that ability be activated once.
It gets really disgusting with Rishkar, because then every creature you control can tap for a green mana.
That's true.
So it starts to compound over time, as long as you're able to produce enough creatures to generate that much mana.
And I think we might actually see Kazu go that route here in just a moment, of just sitting here with Rishkar in these 5 lands and go to the, I'll call it Gavany Township version of Shalai here.
I feel like Kazu is fairly scared of Anthony using something like Seal Away on a Shalai. We saw Zach Elsick last round not attack with Shalai one time, just so he didn't get combo, Seal Away plus Settle the Wreckage.
Mm-hmm. Skrzypczak going to oversee the battlefield here. See if he's got anything to do on the end of turn. Also curious to see if Kazu's going to do an attacking. I know that Skrzypczak does have a copy of Merfolk Trickster in hand. Might be considering getting that on the battlefield. It's not going to get much better.
Well, that card is fantastic alongside Seal Away, because it does tap the creature it targets.
Very true.
And in a deck with Flash, that's where you want to be at. You want to be playing things on your opponent's turn. You want cards that are tough to play around, and you want cards that work well together.
The 3rd chapter of History of Benalia does go off. Kazu, the consummate professional, and making sure that Anthony does remember that. Anthony, no good attacks with his 4/3 Knights. And now you'll see an activation there of Shalai, giving Rishkar a counter and Shalai as well. So now Shalai has the ability to tap for green mana, and I'm curious to see where Kazu goes from here. Again, Kazu not really, I think, all that sure, Todd, what he's playing against. You saw Seal Away, you saw History of Benalia. Maybe it's just a blue-white control player with a weird build?
Maybe, and I would bet quite a bit here that Kazu's not going to play around Merfolk Trickster. Even though it has Flash, not a lot of these historic decks actually play Merfolk Trickster, just because they're more focused on playing these more powerful spells at instant speed that are legendary or historic.
Well, there's a land there for Skrzypczak, who's having one heck of a tournament here this weekend with 2 very unorthodox choices. We've seen Anthony in the past a little bit on the SCG Tour, not the biggest name here on the tournament circuit, but I do know that he loves himself a mono green devotion deck, and he's also playing blue-white historic. So I know that in the pregame show we talked about maybe mixing it up with the deck choices here, and You know, there's a time and a place to play something a little bit wonky. You said do it in one format. Skrzypczak said, I'm doing it in two.
Yeah. Skrzypczak, notably his deck actually has 4 copies of Wizard's Retort. That combos well with, I believe Wrath Caption Ship's Mage is a Wizard, but also Merfolk Trickster, I'm pretty sure is also a Wizard. So most of the time Wizard's Retort is going to be cancel, but sometimes it's actual counterspell.
Interesting. So we're going to have Merfolk Trickster jump on the battlefield. As you mentioned, that is going to tap a creature when it enters the battlefield, so Shall I will get tapped. We're going to take a look at Merfolk Trickster here in just a moment. There's your blue-blue Merfolk Wizard 2/2 flash. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. It loses all abilities until end of turn, and there's a big old gang block. Kazu will organize the blockers. Trickster will stay on the battlefield. The Night tokens will leave. Your follow-up is Heart of Kirin. Pass the turn back.
Yeah, now though, the Shall I being tapped leaves it vulnerable to Seal Away if Anthony has another copy. And that, basically turning off one of his best cards in the matchup and Settle the Wreckage, there's a pretty good chance he uses Seal Away here.
Well, don't forget, and Anthony does have Seal Away in hand, but Kazu Negri has old Thrashing Bronodon on the battlefield. So a Seal Away in this instance, not that great, actually, because of old Thrashy B.
Yeah, that's a good point.
For Skrzypczak, he'll just play a land and pass the turn back. Anthony doesn't really have much of anything going on right now. Though he does have a copy of Blink of an Eye in hand. It looks like Thrashy B is going to get in the Heart of Kirin. The dinosaur's going to go for a ride. And it looks like maybe Heart of Kirin will be the only attacker.
So what Anthony can do here is play Merfolk Trickster, turn off Shall I with its ability, and then use Seal Away on like Thrashing Brontodon. Okay. But then he still has to beat the follow-up Shall I. Yep. Awkwardly, I don't know if Kazu actually has access to white mana right now. Looks like he has a bunch of forests, a black-green land, and an Ether Hub with no energy.
Yep.
He burned that energy earlier to cast the Shall I for the first time.
Well, Blink of an Eye is going to take care of the Shall I, at least for right now. And now you saw Shall I in response pump up the team. But there's another forest. Now here's a copy of Seal Away. It's going to go after the Brontodon.
Yeah, and this is the point where the Flash deck can actually start applying pressure. The 2 damage from the Merfolk Trickster might not look like a lot, but when Anthony gets to cast something like Torrential Gearhulk the next turn, or even like a Wrath Caption, that damage starts adding up quickly, and when you're trying to play around a bunch of different weird types of spells from your opponent, the little chip damage here and there, things can go sour fast.
Yeah. It's a really, really good point. It looks like Anthony Skrzypczak might be starting to turn the corner a little bit here. You see his hand, Walking Ballista, could be played for a bunch. That Merfolk Trickster that you've mentioned many times there, Todd. And then one card we haven't talked about very much, but is hiding out in his hand too, a copy of Torrential Gearhulk.
Now, Skrzypczak can cast this Walking Ballista for X = 4, and that does check the Shall I if Kazu's able to draw white mana. I don't like casting Walking Ballista in spots like this when your opponent can just kill it and the only targets you have for the ability are deal damage to the face. I like having Walking Ballista be cast after there's a creature to target.
Well, Walking Ballista was played without a creature to target, but that's because Kazu can't deploy one. He's stuck on mana at this stage. So it ends up not backfiring too much there for Anthony. But ultimately, I do agree with you. You want to make sure you get some value out of that Walking Ballista, and I suppose dealing 4 to your opponent isn't too bad.
No, I mean, there is also, that Kazu doesn't have access to white mana right now. You want to apply pressure, but you don't necessarily want to burn Torrential Gearhulk on just a blink of an eye.
Yeah. Here's History of Benalia. That is a Servant of the Conduit, which will bring some energy along with it, so long as he does remember the trigger, of course, which means the hub is back on now.
Legacy, duel for duels competitors. Your pairings for round
And Kazu, very smart Magic player, not going to forget about the Servant trigger. That means the hub is turned down, and now there is Shall I. Shall I is going to get in the Heart of Kirin. And now here's an attack for 5. Merfolk Trickster is going to tap that, I believe. Yeah, and he actually can't target that because of Shall I, so not a great turn there for Anthony.
No, and he does get attacked for 5. The Heart of Kirin does have Vigilance. Anthony's in a tough spot now. He tapped 3 for the History of Benalia. I may have liked him to use Torrential Gearhulk with, hold up Torrential Gearhulk with the blink of an eye just to make sure that he could contain the threats on the battlefield. Now he's at 5 life facing down a lethal flying attacker. Obviously, he can bounce the Shalai, but he can't bounce the Heart of Kieran because of the Shalai.
Yeah.
Oh, he drew Seal away? Oh, man. Is he? Oh, he's 1 mana short. Oh, if he had 8 mana, he could seal away the Shalai and use Blink of an Eye off the Torrential Gearhulk to survive next turn.
Well, here's the seal away.
That does put Kazu only on 2 power, though, so he can't quite seal, crew the Heart of Kieran to seal the deal just yet.
Well, it looks like Anthony's okay, right? Because he's got Torrential Gearhulk mana?
Oh, he did have 8 mana. One was
oh, no!
Well, no, he can Torrential Gearhulk right now, Blink of an Eye, the Heart of Kieran before crew.
Oh, good call, good call, good call. He's got to do this. Yeah, good call. He's got to respond right now.
Yeah, and he has so much power on the battlefield. Kazu's at 6 from the previous attack for 6. History of Benali is about to move to Chapter 3, and I think this might be it for Kazu. He's in basically double chump block mode, I believe.
That Shalai was such a good draw. What's Kazu going to follow up with? Does he have anything here?
With only 2 effective blockers, thanks to Heart of Kieran needing to be crewed to block, one has to go on Torrential Gearhulk, another has to go on to a 4-power Knight, and that still leaves a 4-power Knight and 2 Merfolk Tricksters coming in. But he has a Rishkar to give him a 3rd blocker.
Yeah? Okay.
We could be doing it, as the kids say.
So let's see. Those History of Knowledge is going to go to Chapter 3, so big blocker, big. So he's got to block both Knights and Torrential Gearhulk.
Right, and with the ability of Shalai, I think he's actually in a position to win this game now that he has that 3rd blocker.
Yeah.
He puts, 2 on the Knight, 1 on the Gearhulk. Make sure you just put something like Servant in front of the Gearhulk. Shalai has 5 power thanks to the +1, or 5 toughness thanks to the counter. The boost from History of Benalia is only +2. So she will survive if she blocks a Knight.
Wah,
But
wah.
a blink of an eye off the top will seal the deal for Anthony in Game 1.
Kazu Negri is going to lose this one. Anthony Skrzypczak wins game number 1 here over Kazu Negri. Blue-white historic with a timely top deck there of a blink of an eye. Going to put a win on the board for Anthony Skrzypczak over Abzan Angels. Good first game between these two.
Oh, yeah.
This one should be actually pretty interesting because Kazu's got a card there in Shalai that's causing a lot of problems. We'll see if Anthony's got any help in his sideboard for the matchup after these messages. We are back, getting ready to watch more of Kazu Negri and Anthony Skrzypczak here. It's Abzan Angels, it's Blue-White Historic, and as we start things off, we'll start with Kazu and his 4 Duress, 2 Life Crafters, Bestiary, 2 Thopter Arrest, and here come the 1-0s. And cast down Carnage Tyrant, Baffling End, Aethersphere Harvester, Lyra Dawnbringer, Thrashing Brontodon, and a Vraska Relic Seeker.
I like most of the cards in Kazu's sideboard that can affect enchantments. We saw a lot of seal aways out of the Blue-White Historic deck. I think that Kazu is going to be bringing in Thrashing Brontodon. Vraska Relic Seeker seems pretty good. Flyers were also somewhat of a problem, it seemed like, from Anthony's side of things, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Kazu also bring in Aethersphere Harvester. I assume that Kazu is going to expect some number of counter spells as well. Carnage Tyrant might be pretty good. That's about it. I don't really like the Duresses or the Life Crafters Bestiary. The Blue-Eyed Historic deck can turn you on its head quite quickly. It is, dense enough with creatures that you might actually miss with something like Duress.
Other side of things, we've got 3 copies of Authority of the Council, 3 Negate, 2 Fumigate, 2 Forsake the Worldly, 2 Jace's Defeat, 2 Teferi, Hero Dominaria, and another copy is Settle the Wreckage.
So Settle the Wreckage looked like it might be a bit embarrassing in that match just because of the card Shalai Voice of Plenty giving you hexproof, completely shutting the card down. I'm not sure if you want another copy, but it is one of the better tools you have against this mostly creature-based deck from Kazu. I do like Teferi. I want to stick to mostly the same game plan, though. The Abzan version of Angels didn't seem like it had a bunch of enchantment-based removal, so I don't think you want disenchant effects. We saw Kazu cast Fatal Push, so I think you should expect more removal like Fatal Push and Vraska's Contempt.
Well, those are the options there for both players. They'll be given the green light. We'll be underway here in game number 2 between Kazu Negri and Anthony Skrzypczak, and it looks like Kazu says, you know what? I don't think so. I'm going to send this one back. I'm not happy with what I'm looking at. So Skrzypczak is happy. Kazu is not, and we'll see if Kazu can find 6 cards that he's happy with.
After thinking about it a little more, I think the Historic deck might want to bring in some number of Forsake the Worldlies, just as another out to Heart of Kieran.
Well, as Kazu is shuffling up here for game number 2, going to look at 6 cards in just a moment. Let's talk about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale where, yes, you watching at home or listening to this on your phone, can save up to 20% off of select Pauper singles like Gurmag Angler, Standard Bearer, Lightning Bolt, Fairy Miscreant, and so much more. This one ends Monday at 10:59 a.m. Go to StarCityGames.com/weekly sales, the place to be. Might as well just bookmark that or whatever they call it on Google Chrome. Was it a star?
No, it's bookmark.
It's a bookmark too?
Yeah.
The favorite tab?
Hasn't changed in 15 years or whatever.
That needs to be rebranded. Someone needs to think of something new. Take over the world.
Man, I was pretty upset when Twitter switched from, was it likes to loves, like little hearts or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding?
I forgot what the old one looked like now.
It was just a thumbs up, I thought.
Was it a thumb?
Oh, maybe that's Facebook. It all blurs
See,
together.
here's the thing.
Maybe
When-
I don't remember.
When these platforms that you use every day change stuff, like Twitter changed it from something to love. You don't even remember what the thing was before. Can you imagine, what did Facebook look like in 2007? Who knows?
It looked like MySpace.
Who knows what it looks like? What did it look like before we had like the news feed?
Can someone please explain to Rio Trevathian what MySpace is? I'm pretty sure he's not old enough to remember.
So you only get 6 friends in that little area? Yeah, that's it.
That was a top 8.
Was it a top 8?
Yeah.
Well, who was the guy who was always there? He was always your friend.
Oh, Tom?
Was it Tom?
Yeah, he was the creator.
He's always your pal. You just had no choice. You had to be friends with Tom.
No, I am friended.
Nah, you can't unfriend Tom in his own program.
You certainly could.
Well, I guess you did. I could tell Tom was kind of lonely, so I kept him on board.
Okay.
We were buddies. He had a lame profile, though. Never updated it. We got some beatdowns here, it looks like. No, we just got another Shalai. Shalai is looking pretty good here, folks.
Looks like Kazu actually burned an energy here. He didn't need the second white mana Shalai, costing white and 3. A slight misstep. He could have used the ability off of Rishkar Pima Renegade to cast that Shalai.
That's a little interesting. Maybe I missed something. I don't know.
Probably not going to matter. But at some point, if Rishkar does leave the battlefield, that's one less time the Servant of the Conduit can tap for mana.
Mattered last game.
That's true.
Darn sure.
Not having that energy to recast Shalai, only a single Ether Hub.
Paul Hargrove, there we go on Twitter. It was a star before the heart on Twitter.
I just, I didn't really like the heart change just because, I don't love every single post that I want to like.
Don't you, though?
But I don't.
Don't you, though?
Sometimes it's like a lazy fave.
Oh, yeah? Well, then stop using Twitter.
No, it's great.
Yeah, of course. That's why they make the changes, because we are addicted.
So now he does have to use the energy from Servant of the Conduit to get the second white for Lear Dawnbringer.
I think it's worth it.
Oh, for sure.
Lear Dawnbringer. Well, it's still hanging out, but a blink of an eye is going to say goodbye to Shalai, at least for now.
Chapter 3, Engage.
Well,
doesn't look quite as menacing against a Baneslayer Angel.
Yeah, it's looking a little bit worse. I'm not sold on History of Benalia. Just I don't know. It's probably better than I think, but I've never been impressed.
I mean, the team open I covered with you, we covered quite a bit of Standard, and whenever a player went something on 2 or 1, like whether it was Fatal Push or whatever, if they had a play on turn 1 or 2, and then follow that up with a History of Benalia on 3 and a History of Benalia on 4, the subsequent attack for 12 damage, and then the next turn having the potential attack for 16 damage was often too much for a lot of decks to overcome. Usually when you just have one History of Benalia on turn 3, it's not that damaging, and it's not that scary.
Looks like Seal Away is going to take care of Rishkar. Pima Renegade.
I would not be surprised if Anthony just go ahead and plays another Seal Away on Servant of the Conduit. Once Shalai Voice of Plenty comes down, it's not going to have any other targets other than Shalai, and I would bet quite a bit that Kazu does not want to tap it ever.
Well, here comes Lyra Dawnbringer into the red zone. It's safe to attack, of course, because Shalai is protecting it and everything else on the battlefield. So did not see Anthony Skrzypczak use that Seal Away. Maybe he's got bigger plans as he will draw a card. It's an island.
I mean, he could draw something like Merfolk Trickster and then tap Shalai plus Seal Away it. Right now, in a bit of trouble. Torrential Gearhulk can only bounce Shalai, but you still have to deal with the Lear Dawnbringer after that.
For Skrzypczak, he's looking at Walking Ballista in hand here as well.
Oddly enough, the pump ability from Lyra Dawnbringer, which boosts all your other angels, coming into effect here with the Shalai Voice of Plenty, making it extremely difficult for Anthony to be able to kill the Shalai with a Walking Ballista.
And now Skrzypczak will just pass the turn back. So we go back over to Kazu yet again. You saw him attack with Lyra Dawnbringer last turn. We might see it again. That angel is starting to take over the game a little bit here.
Yeah, and if Kazu actually has a 5-mana spell in hand or just wants to cast a 3-mana spell and a 2-mana spell in the same turn, he does not have the Rishkar anymore, and he does not have the energy that he burned, I don't want to say accidentally, but just, missing the ability on Rishkar.
This is an attack with Lyra Dawnbringer again. Skrzypczak going to fall down to 7. Negri up to 30.
30, huh?
It's a lot. What's this? It's Karn. Oh, I forgot that card even existed. Haven't seen it all weekend.
Well, it's still pretty good.
Yeah. Karn Scion of Urza going to come on down. The 4-mana legendary Planeswalker with 5 loyalty up to 6. Going to turn over a couple of cards, Servant of the Conduit, and a Woodland Cemetery.
Yeah, in this spot, I think Kazu is more than happy to hit land drops.
And he'll play a land, and there's the battlefield tapped and pass the turn back. This is Torrential Gearhawk bouncing Shalai, which means that Seal Away can now take care of Lyra Dawnbringer.
Yeah, that's a pretty big swing here. Lyra was giving Anthony some fits, especially when combined with Shalai Voice of Plenty. And maybe Anthony was willing to take the 2 hits from the Lyra Dawnbringer instead of using that Seal Away earlier on the vulnerable Servant of the Conduit. Playing the long game.
Yeah. He's got some work to do, doesn't Anthony? Got to work Kazu down from 30, but he's in a pretty good position right now.
Kazu deciding whether he wants to chump block the Torrential Gearhulk and send Karn to 2, or just eat one of the 2/2 Knight tokens. He chooses the latter. I would not be surprised if Anthony here casts a Walking Ballista for X equals 2 and just uses the last ping to clear off the Servant of the Conduit to make the board a little more clean.
Well, here's reaching for mana. And there is that Walking Ballista. So it is for 2. Let's put it down to... Oh, White's just going to leave it there. Wow. I'm a little surprised by that. Missed that opportunity to finish off that Servant of the Conduit to Skrzypczak.
This ain't Magic Online. It's hard to see that 2 damage sometimes.
He may not care. It's possible. The Servant right now, no energy, no Rishkar, just a 3/3.
Yeah, and with 8 mana, you could actually pump up the Ballista next turn to a 4/4 and use that to clear off the Shalai permanently.
Yeah.
So, bigger plans this Anthony Skrzypczak. Thinking long term.
There is Shalai once again. It has been a thorn in the side here for Skrzypczak, and the follow-up is a Heart of Karen. Now things are going to start to get a little bit more difficult here for Anthony, I think.
Yeah, these flyers are pretty tough for his deck to beat. Hitzer Benalia very good at keeping the ground clear, trading off with smaller creatures. Ooh, that was a nice draw.
Well, Settle the Wreckage, not all that great, but Commit to Memory, which was the draw for the turn. Now that is a nice draw.
Oh, yeah, and he has the ability actually to commit mid-combat on Shalai and use Settle the Wreckage.
Anthony Skrzypczak's deck has just enough stuff.
See, I keep missing. I thought he had 8 lands. Did I just miscount again?
I think you did. He's only got 7 right now.
That's rough.
Gearhawk going to come in here for 5. So Kazu's going to fall down to 25. I'm curious to see. Is he also in hand is Raf Cashin. So a bunch of 4-mana spells with only the ability to cast 1. So which one are we going to do first? We're going to go with Commit to Memory. So Shalai going to get tucked away.
Yeah, and with a deck as unique as Kazu's Abzan Angels deck, the main phase there from the Commit to Memory could be a concession to, maybe Kazu splashing blue, or maybe he has something like Blossoming Defense that you're kind of worried about.
No, it's just a mono Shalais.
Yeah, just
it's just
over and over again.
Just mono this angel. And that's actually pretty nice that Servant of the Conduit can actually crew the Heart of Kirin, get in for 4, and have Shalai on defense. So we head back over to Skrzypczak.
Rishkar seems real nice in this deck. Not only the synergy with Shalai Voice of Plenty's activated ability, but also just boosting up some of your smaller creatures to be able to turn on Heart of Kirin is a big deal. He does not want to tap Shalai in this scenario just because it would leave it vulnerable to Seal Away.
Blink of an eye, the draw there.
He keeps finding a way out of it.
Well, does he stay out of it this time too?
Yeah, he goes, he can spend 2 mana, just bounce Shalai, and then settle the wreckage, the Heart of Kirin.
Yeah, good call.
He's still at 3. He's still in a bit of trouble. But
SCGCon attendees, just a reminder.
There's settle. Had to use 2 resources just to take care of the Heart of Kirin. So if you're Kazu, you're good with that exchange.
Oh, for sure. And with Anthony at 3, he's about to replay Shalai for 4 mana. He might even have a 2 mana play on top of that. And he's able to present lethal consistently over and over. Of course, Anthony could draw an 8th land, pump the Walking Ballista up twice, and then use that to finish off the Shalai permanently. But as we saw earlier, the commit to memory actually means that Kazu has 2 copies of Shalai now.
Well, we're going to head back over to Skrzypczak. He'll draw. Didn't get a great look at it.
These flash decks are so tricky. They have so many weirdo little things to do.
Ooh. Good attack there. Get in with the Knight. I like that a lot.
Looks like a Wizard's Retort, and I believe this game is over so long as Kazu is willing to attack for 3 in the air.
Yeah, that's a real question here in this instance because Shalai can be taken care of by Seal Away, and that's a card you know Anthony Skrzypczak has in his deck.
But with the backup copy of Shalai in hand, it seems like a fairly easy exchange. Like, you go for the kill. It's fine. This chump block from Raph, plus the Walking Ballista, is able to buy Anthony yet another turn.
Because Raph, weirdly enough, does fly, does Raph Kafishin.
And Anthony actually has a Wizard's Retort in hand, I believe, so he can use that to counter one of the bigger plays from Kazu this turn. Or the follow-up Shalai on the next turn.
Yeah, there's Thrashy B. Old Thrashing Brontodon. Going to take care of that. And now there is Wizard's Retort on that. Boy, Anthony Skrzypczak is continuing to battle here. Tell you what. 5 mana. Angel Sanctions.
The Thrashing Brontodon was a pretty huge beating because it could unlock Lear Dawnbringer, but unfortunately for Anthony, there's also an Angel of Sanctions and another Shalai in hand, so just too many of these flyers for Anthony to deal with.
Anthony will draw a card here. Did not get a great look at it. It's just a plane, so he will concede the game. As Kazu Negri is going to tie things up here against Anthony Skrzypczak. Gets Obs on Angels and Blue Historic. Getting ready for a 3rd and final game here in round number 14 of action. Very important match for both these players. They are both right on the cusp of top 8 in this Invitational. We'll find out who will get one step closer to that Invitational top 8 in just a bit. Game number 3 about to be underway here between Kazu Negri and Anthony Skrzypczak. Gets Obs on Angels and Blue-White Historic. Senator Phillips and Todd Anderson here in the booth at SCG Tour, hashtag SCGCON, that's SCGCon. To join the conversation all weekend long is round number 14 and 16. About to finish up here. As again, these 2 players right on the cusp of top 8, and they're being pretty friendly given the circumstances here. Smiling back and forth, good conversation, good sportsmanship between the 2. But only one can win, and whoever does win this one, very, very close to making top 8 of this Invitational. He'll be on the play. Clear for takeoff.
So interesting to note, in the end of the previous game, Anthony was using Blink of an Eye to buy himself time. But when he started to actually find the answers to these Shalai Voice of Plenties and things of that nature, it just wasn't enough because Kazu was able to accrue cards over that time period because none of his threats were actually like dying, going to the graveyard. They were just being returned to his hand. Anthony was not able to capitalize on all those bounce effects by closing the game like he did in Game 1.
A Walking Ballista will be the first play of the game there for Kazu Negri for Anthony Skrzypczak. He'll have a History of Benalia. Chapter 1 is a 2/2 Knight with Vigilance. For Kazu, Rishkar, Pima Renegade. It's going to make Ballista a 2/2, Rishkar a 3/3. And Kazu going to pass the turn back. Got bigger plans there for a Walking Ballista instead of just trading with the Knight. Chapter 2 here from History of Benalia. We'll bring another Knight along with it. There's a Glacial Fortress. And 4 mana is where Anthony's deck is at a real sweet spot here. Todd is he's got Blink of an Eye that he can play with Kicker, Commit to Memory, and a whole bunch more.
Yep, he also has access to looks like a Seal Away in hand as well as a Torrential Gearhulk on the top end. He did mulligan, and if he starts having to use things like Blink of an Eye to buy himself time, you can actually use Torrential Gearhulk on the back half of Commit to Memory and cast Memory on your opponent's turn even though it's a sorcery, because split cards work very strangely with things like Torrential Gearhulk.
Ether Hub going to come on down and give Kazu Negri an energy. The follow-up will be an Angel of Sanctions. Boy.
I love this play from Kazu here. This Angel of Sanctions is looking to take away one of these knights. I don't think he would chance taking away the History of Benalia because a single bounce spell or something like that would mean chapters 1 and 2 get to be played over again.
There is Commit from Commit to Memory.
Yeah, Commit, a very unique spell, able to affect either spells on the stack or cards on the battlefield. We saw something similar to that with Unsubstantiate a few sets ago, but Commit being a little more powerful because instead of returning it to your opponent's hand, you instead put it 1 card deep in the library.
3 p.m. Your pairings for round number 1 are making their way to the gathering point.
All right, well, okay. Rishkar going to come on in here. It's actually a good attack there by Kazu. If a double block takes place, Walking Ballista can help to finish something off. You're going to see Walking Ballista take care of one of the Night tokens because Kazu does not want to get hit by 8 given Chapter 3 of History of Benalia. So that's why you see that exchange.
Yeah, that could be a huge turning point in the game for Anthony, that damage can start piling up when he starts getting access to things like Torrential Gearhulk next turn. Don't hate main phase the Seal Away on the Rishkar. You could restrict Kazu's mana a little bit while also taking away a potential blocker for your 2/2 Vigilance. But perhaps Anthony believes that there are bigger fish to fry out of Kazu's deck.
Yeah, we've seen Shalai, we've seen Lyra Dawnbringer, and we know Angel of Sanctions is coming soon enough. So you've seen a lot of Angels from this deck, and there is Shalai.
I mean, Anthony also has Blink of an Eye, and if he wants, he can just cast this Kick Tier, bouncing Shalai, and basically buying himself a turn, digging 1 card deeper so he could actually cast Torrential Gearhulk on the following turn.
That'll be an attack for 3 from Rishkar. And now there is Blink of an Eye. So Skrzypczak will draw a card. He'll untap. He'll draw another card here in just a moment. Blink of an Eye actually looking quite good in his deck. As there's an attack for 2.
Unfortunately, I believe this is an irrigated farmland that will enter tapped. A little bit of a gamble here with a cycle on this farmland instead of just making sure that you hit your 6th land for Torrential Gearhulk next turn.
Nah, he's just going to play a Seal Away.
Yeah, I think that's a great play.
Let's go back over to Kazu now. Woodland Cemetery is land number 6.
Thrashing Bronodon is actually a pretty decent answer to Torrential Gearhulk. The problem is, you know, once the Torrential Gearhulk flashes back something, you're still gaining a virtual card out of it, and the Thrashing Bronodon has to sacrifice itself to destroy that.
Oh, there's Angel of Sanctions again. That'll take care of that Knight token.
Yeah, I love targeting the Knight token instead of gambling a little bit by taking the Seal Away. The 3/3 Rishkar can check the 2/2 Knight, but you just want to make sure you get full value out of the Angel of Sanctions, and by exiling tokens, you're guaranteeing the card can't come back to bite you once Angel of Sanction leaves the battlefield.
An island from Skrzypczak, and he'll just pass the turn back with 7 mana available. If you're Kazu, you know you're playing against a flash deck. So you have to tread carefully now, but this makes things a little bit easier going to Shalai. This is a Torrential Gearhulk.
I would have liked to have Anthony play this after the Angel of Sanctions attacks. That way, it incentivizes Kazu to attack. That way, Anthony actually gets to unlock his Seal Away on the Angel next turn. Fortunately for him, Kazu go ahead and attacks anyway just to make sure he gets in some chip damage. You got to close the game somehow.
Heart of Kirin, the play after combat. This will be a Seal Away. That'll take care of the Angel of Sanctions. Country Girl's going to come across here for 5. Kazu going to fall down to 9. We might be in a little bit of a racing situation here as we head back over to Kazu Negri.
Yeah, we could see a really gross chain of events if Kazu goes thrashing Bronodon, destroys Seal Away to get back Angel of Sanctions, Angel of Sanctions to get back the Rishkar Pima Renegade underneath the other Seal Away. Anthony's going to have a tough time fighting through all of that, plus the Heart of Kirin at only 11 life.
Well, there is Thrashy B. And how does Kazu want to use this Thrashing Bronzodon? That is the question. He'll first use it to crew. That's the easy part. Get in there for 4. Skrzypczak going to fall down to 7. Servant of the Conduit. 2 energy on the way. Pass the turn back. We'll go back over to Skrzypczak.
Passing the turn here with the Thrashing Bronodon activation at the ready means that he can actually choose between targeting Torrential Gearhulk or the enchantments based on Anthony's turn.
Anthony will play a Memorial to Genius, but Anthony might have to slow down now. And he will. And slowing down there almost feels like a concession. I'm sure he'd love to keep attacking.
Yeah, but if he attacks, he leaves himself just dead on board. I don't believe the card in his hand does anything.
Yep, and this is the play that you kind of saw coming here. Angel of Sanctions.
You definitely do not use Angel of Sanctions to target Torrential Gearhulk. That can end very poorly if your opponent has something like Blink of an Eye to get rid of the Angel of Sanctions.
Mm-hmm. So Angel of Sanctions will come in, it'll eat a Seal Away, which means Rishkar will come back, which means Rishkar will have a trigger. Make a couple creatures bigger, Rishkar itself and Angel of Sanctions. So now Kazu will untap and draw a card. Well, Shalai is going to make it so that everything is very safe. He knew that card was there. He will use Rishkar to crew. And here is an attack in the air for the W. And it looks like it's going to be just enough. And that is going to do it. Kazu Negri is going to win this match here over Anthony Skrzypczak. 2 games to 1. Obs on Angels. You just saw a deck tech about it. Now you see it win. Gets Kazu his 11th win on the weekend. And he looks like he might just be 1 win away from top 8 here this weekend.
Yeah, and with only 2 rounds